This review covers the U.S. Army Staff Car 1942. It's a 1/48 scale kit from Tamiya, number 32559. It's a skill level 1 for the beginning modeler. And the term staff car describes a vehicle used by senior military officers, and they were first used in quantity by the British in World War I. Military staff and command cars were used for light transportation duties and their communications. Some models were based on civilian cars with military requirements, like this 1942 Ford four-door sedan. The kit consists of 38 pieces, molded in gray and clear styrene, and includes a metal chassis and one screw. Now, the U.S. Army waterslide decal markings are also in good register, and they're nicely opaque. The scale is perfect for 1/48 scale military dioramas, and it's a great slump buster or a diorama add-on piece that you'll enjoy. The kit's basic, with no motor details, and a basic interior with a driver figure. Being a military car, it's all olive drab green, making detail painting a breeze. When you're done, the overall length is 3 3/4 inches, width is 1.5 inches, and the height is just over 1 inch high. Here are the decals for the kit, and you also get some civilian options here. You see the license plates there if you want to do that. And the decals are good quality. They lay out really nicely, but they take a little longer to come off of the backing paper, so you need to soak them a little longer. They're very small, though, although the stars are really nice emblems for U.S. Army vehicle. They're very opaque, and they go on very well without any setting solution. Just some warm water is all that's required. Construction starts with the wheels, and we'll be using liquid cement as well as occasionally some clear cement for something like the window glass. Now start with the wheels and go ahead and glue those hubcaps onto the shallow part of the wheels there, and paint the interior and exterior of the inner and outer wheels with some olive drab paint. And then go ahead and detail the tires with some tire black, or rubber black as they call it, or just add a little gray to the black to give them a more realistic look. Now here's a look at those wheels. Now, as you can see, they're pretty realistic with some detailing. They look like rubber tires on a metal hub, and so go ahead and let those dry. Next up is chassis assembly, and we can go ahead and paint the chassis pan a flat black and let that dry. And now the drive shaft, the rear differential, the axles, and the front and rear suspensions are a semi-gloss black. The exhaust pipe is steel color, along with the motor. It's just an unpainted steel, because military motors don't have to be pretty. So go ahead and detail those up. You'll also note the drive shafts there, plastic drive shafts, and you can go ahead and clean those up and get the sprue marks off and any parting lines that are required for a nice looking finish there. Note the difference between the front and the rear wheels. Notice that the longer hubs are the wheels that are installed onto the front of the car. Now note that since the chassis pan is metal, you'll need to scrape any paint off from the contact areas and use some super glue to apply the pieces to that, because any other glue won't really work except for epoxy. So use some super glue to put the suspension pieces into place. Glue the suspension into place, and once that has dried, you can slip an axle into one of the fronts or rears, and then making sure that you get those together, go ahead and add those to the chassis by sliding the axle through and then squeezing the other wheel onto the other side. Just make sure that when you glue those into position that they are fully seated, so that they're at the correct width when you get them into the car. The interior is next, so paint the seats olive drab color, and then the package shelf bolted onto the rear seat is tan, flat tan, and the steering wheel is a semi-gloss black, and the column is a semi-gloss black with silver levers. The kit includes a driver figure. It's seated as you see there and can be detail painted. I painted the shoes black, the pants a khaki color, the jacket is a medium brown, and the hat is khaki with a brown trim. Then the face and hands are flesh tones. You can see here the installed driver and column. Now we're going to start with the seats, so go ahead and glue those into position. Once again, if you're gluing to metal, you need to use super glue, and that will include the column as well. Now put the person into place as the driver there, and you can use styrene glue for that, liquid cement. And then attach the right arm with some slow setting glue, and you can glue the head onto the person as well. Now when he's in place on the seat, then you can attach the steering wheel to the column with some super glue, and then go ahead and add the left arm into place with some slow setting glue, and position the arms around the steering wheel. The body is next and can be completely assembled prior to painting for a nice finish. Now notice in the picture here there's two parts that are circled. Those are the license plates brackets, and you'll only use those for the civilian version of the car. If you build the metal version, cut the one off there in the upper left that says civilian only by removing that bracket from the trunk handle. And that's all of those pieces that you'll use there. Now, attach the grille to the car, then add the bumper to the grille, install the hood, and then install the rear handle, rear bumper, and the taillights to the back end. It's time to clean up the body now after you get the pieces in place. So go ahead and clean up any parting lines, with sanding sticks or scrapers that you need to, and then carefully sand the body with some fine grit paper like an 800. Then rinse and let it air dry. Now prime the car and then let it cure, and give it another light sanding with real fine sandpaper, rinse and dry once again. Next, paint the whole thing olive drab green, and for a richer green as seen on some of the cars used, I used an Italian olive drab. And now we'll add the decals. For the military version, you'll use the stars and the numerical insignia for that, and if you make the civilian version, just use the license plates brackets without any decals. Now when you want to go ahead and put the decals into place, it's best to have a little gloss on the car, on the model, so that they won't silver around the edges through the carrier film on the decal. So you can use a light coat of gloss paint, or you can also use like floor polish, which is commonly used, but nonetheless that helps prevent silvering. And once you get the decals all into place, you can give the entire car a coat of nice flat paint as it would be in a military condition. Now we can install the glass after that's done, and we can on the windshield I used a black Sharpie to highlight the seal around the mold, the molding around the window, along with painting the wipers. And on the side fronts I used a silver Sharpie to highlight the vent window opening. Now there are some indents in the roof to line up the glass parts, so install the rear and sides first, and then install the sides lastly the windshield. And then I used a dab of glue on the supports to fix them into position. If you're careful, you won't get any glue on the glass, and it will still work just fine. Next, I detailed the dash by painting it olive drab green, as we mentioned, the Italian hue. And also I painted the instrument rings with a silver color. You could use a chrome pen there too. And I added a few dots on there just for interest. They're very small, but you can see them barely through the open windows, and that gives them a little interest, as I mentioned. Now, some careful glue placement on the dash. You can install that to the cowl on the backside, just beneath the windows in the body. Now it's time to add the chassis to the body. So go ahead and drop it into position with the back end tab fitting into the recess there at the back end by the bumper. And then as you drop the front end in, there's a screw hole up front, and there's a metal screw that is used here to fasten the chassis to the body. So we'll add that next, and your body then will take on the appearance of a car. Once you've got the screw fully seated, you can add the plastic circle tab that's used to cover up the screw, and then you can finish that off with some flat black or paint to kind of disguise the screw. Now it's time to finish things up. The first thing we'll do is add a little silver color to the back side of the headlight lenses, and then glue those into place and use a silver marker to outline the headlight bezels. And then also those small indicator lights just above the grille, those were trimmed with a little silver too. In the back, we can go ahead and finish up that area by painting the taillights stoplight red. And the only parts that I had left over from the entire kit were the license plates brackets and the license plates themselves. Well, there you have it. Your model is complete, and it's not difficult, but because it's so small, it's a little more challenging. Being that it's made for dioramas, there's very little inside detail and motor detail, but you can see the person in the car, so painting him is important. And there's only one real part of it that's important, and that's the exterior. And it has enough detail to even be trimmed out as a civilian car. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations, where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.